And it is the Cary Harrison Files. Welcome. Happy whatever day it is for you. If you're listening live on the radio, well, it's Friday, of course. Happy to be here with you. We're going to really kind of hammer it down home today because as Chicken Little would say, the sky is falling, and maybe Chicken Little was right. However, there are workarounds. It's called information. It's called education. It's called knowing what's going on so that you can pivot. You can navigate the impossible shoals ahead. And that's what we're going to do today. We're also live streaming right now, as you know, on Substack and YouTube. You can simply Google Cary Harrison Substack. Cary, spelled like Cary Grant, C-A-R-Y. Cary Harrison Substack or YouTube. And that way we can stay connected when you arrive at your destination. You can also easily find us live at kpfk.net. And that way you'll be able to see the video. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at caryharrison.com. There you're going to get a transcript of the entire show, plus access to clips and stuff that we, as you know, can't do anymore on the radio, even talk pretty much. That's pretty risky stuff. So that's our newsletter at caryharrison.com. Well, let's just jump off into it, okay? Have you ever looked at the state of this country and wondered how Washington, D.C. ended up as a burlesque act performed by people who can't dance? His imperial kumquat is juggling power like it's made of rubber. The Dowager Empress of the ballroom is twirling her skirts in bureaucratic delirium. And you, lucky you, get front row seats. I know you have better things to do. You didn't want to be under Mr. Ringling's big top, but here you are, whether you like it or not. So today, we brought in someone who spent his entire life mastering chaos long before our leadership made it fashionable. This guy didn't stumble into show business. He cannonballed into it. At 14, he wanted to be Barbra Streisand. Instead, the universe handed him a tuba the size of a tax audit and said, "Good luck, kid." From that point on, he realized that if life insisted on absurdity, he may as well run toward it full speed. He's been an MC, a drag performer, a singer, columnist, actor, photographer, choreographer, producer. What else? Maybe he can cook. I don't know. Clean? This man didn't dabble. He multiplied. And while America was busy panicking about everything from disco to democracy, he was coming out in the 1970s and inadvertently becoming an activist simply by refusing to hide. All of this is an instruction manual for you today. Before long, he was singing with Sylvester, photographing music royalty, crashing the Grammys with a camera at 22, writing for every publication with a spine. This radio station, by the way, is the last one with a spine west of the Mississippi. So you are with a spine. Wouldn't it be fun if the Democratic Party were actually in this radio station with a spine? But that's just a fantasy, and it could happen. Not so much, but maybe Chuck Schumer will take the eyeglasses off the end of his nose and just go away. Please, Chuck, grab your pearls, go away. Now, back to my point here. When most people say that they've done a lot, they mean they once hosted a bake sale. So we're not talking about that. While our leadership melts down daily and his imperial kumquat reenacts the emotional stability of the 1980s, Karel Bouley keeps doing what America desperately needs, making you laugh at the madness so it doesn't swallow you whole. You'll probably remember him from KFI, really one of the first guys, first gay couple ever on Morning Drive, and this notoriously conservative right-wing radio station. He was on it for many years, not as that. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about what everything means, where it's going, from a guy who's been on the inside and also a fellow radio guy. So I love it. I want to welcome you, Karel Bouley, to the Cary Harrison Files.
Hey, Cary, how are you?
I am improved by the sound of your voice.
Well,
But
thank you.
I wish I could say I'm swell, but the reality of the geopolitics, the way they are, that's kind of the reason that you and I are visiting, other than we're just polite fellows.
Well, you're right. I spent a lot of time on KFI making history and then went on to KGO to surprisingly be the only openly gay host working on the West Coast for 15 years on an ABC radio station. And over that time, I learned a lot about people, about politics, and about corporate politics as well, and certainly about corporate media, having worked now for, let's see, Citadel, Cumulus, AM/FM, Clear Channel, ABC, and only at two stations because, of course, they overtook. And there is a very big danger right now, which we can talk about. One of the things in Grammy, I vote on Grammy, and one of the things we're concerned about right now is Congress wants to change the media ownership rules again to favor the large companies. Right now, in a city like Los Angeles, a company like Cumulus can only own 5 radio stations, 3 FMs, 2 AMs, etc.
I love how you say only. Only they
right,
can
yeah,
only. It used to be you could, if you had a radio station, you couldn't own the newspaper. Why?
Right,
Because then you own all the information. Now you can only own 5.
Well, they want to remove that cap.
This is terrible.
They want to remove that cap so someone like Cumulus could own every station. That's how Republicans
let's help people know what Cumulus is, because you and I are going to do a lot of inside talk. So
Cumulus is one of the largest radio networks in the country. They're all backed now. All radio networks are now, well, save like 2, are backed by these billion-dollar hedge funds. And subsequently, we have seen the demise of progressive talk radio on anywhere except like KPFK because Republicans bought up all of the radio stations. And then hosts like Glenn Beck or Rush Limbaugh, or just pick a name, they didn't have to make money because the radio station was more centered on the message and not the profit. And that's how we got all of this right-wing media. They simply bought the stations. Liberals did not, much to our chagrin. They should have. They should have stepped in and bought some radio stations, but they did not. But what I have learned...
let me jump in for a second. Karel Bouley, I was actually in the room in Tampa, Florida, when... Clear Channel, everyone remembers Clear Channel.
Sure.
And this was like around 1990, and these ownership rules had relaxed exactly as you're talking about. And with that, they were playing with a guy named Rush Limbaugh out of Missouri, I think it was. And he was on a couple of stations there. And they decided, simply because they now owned 900 AM talk radio stations, they could put him on every one of them in a super syndication. And then the advertising rates would go through the roof. And that exactly to your point, they didn't have to worry so much about how good is he, but they could fire 900 local radio hosts. Imagine the beautiful profit of that. Put this guy on, and the fairness doctrine had now been removed. So when I started radio, when you started radio, if you were going to do a Ku Klux Klan rally on the air, you had to have a not Ku Klux Klan rally equal time on the same station. All that went away with Limbaugh. He was the beginning of what we see today.
Well, and I met Rush, and he sent me flowers when Andrew died, which was very nice of him. And, David Hall, who basically is responsible for my radio career, is also responsible for Rush's and for Dr. Loris and for Glenn Beck's. But he's a screaming liberal. But the fairness doctrine had its good side. It also had its bad side. In today's world, we would be forced to platform another side when I have now learned there are not two sides. Well, there are two sides to every issue, a right and a wrong one. And in today's world, we feel the need to platform people on the other side. These major networks, CNN, MSNBC, they feel the need to platform people that shouldn't be heard at all. Just because you have a voice doesn't mean everybody should hear it. And so we subsequently are getting a lot of misinformation, a lot of propaganda. Just this morning, I heard Megyn Kelly arguing that 15 and 16-year-old girls are barely legal and it's not pedophilia and all this other stuff. And so they're trying to soften the release of the Epstein files and the fact that Donald Trump is all over them and he knew about the girls and he was more than likely sleeping with them. If you have one friend as a sex trafficker, could be bad luck. If you have 2 friends as a sex trafficker, because he's also friends with Vince McMahon, then it says to me you are who you hang out with. But to hear Megyn Kelly trying to say that, well, sleeping with 16 or 15-year-olds, they're almost legal sort of thing, again, is direct messaging from the White House. And they're able to do that because of their control of media. And I'm not going to deride them for doing something that was very smart. I just don't agree with what they've done, nor do I agree with Congress allowing it to happen.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, call now and get free shipping of your new CGM, plus we'll bill your insurance for you.
877-282-8102. That's 877-282-8102. 877-282-8102. 877-282-8102.
And I think that's why we're in some of the mess we're in today. That and social media. We could solve all of our problems tomorrow when it comes to misinformation if we repealed a certain paragraph that says that social media companies can't be sued for things posted on their platforms. Back in the early days, people like Zuckerberg and all the other leaders of the social media platforms, they got this section put into this law that basically said if I post something untrue on your platform, or even libelous or contentious, they're not responsible for it. And they should be, just as and they are networks.
They shouldn't be. I'm just going to counter this for a second, only because if they are pretending to be a utility, like a phone company, where you can say whatever you want without any problem, you can't sue for the conversation. Sure.
But they're not a utility. They're a media company.
That's right. That's right. That's the part that needs to be handled. If you're going to pretend you're a utility, then you must be regulated like a utility.
Right. The internet is a utility. The internet is a utility.
Yeah, you can't have it both ways. And unfortunately, the public has not been included in this, and Congress is not keen on doing that. There's also another part.
The internet is a utility, like electricity. It's a utility. But for instance, we use the internet to stream NBC, CBS, ABC. That doesn't mean that those networks are utilities because they're streamed over the internet. They are still media companies. And there is no doubt that Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, these are media companies. They are just like networks. They show programs. They have programming. So they are media companies, and they should be treated with the same regulation that media companies are treated. Just like Trump wants $1 billion from the BBC for editing together part of his speech, social media companies should be just as responsible for posting anything that is incorrect, libelous, slanderous, that sort of stuff.
Well, you're talking about accountability. You're talking about pulling politics completely out of the mix. And we know that this is a thunderous propaganda machine. So it sort of doesn't, that horse is so long out of the gate that trying to get people to behave and act nice, it's ridiculous. At this point, we're stuck with what choices do we have given everything? I'm going to reintroduce you right now because people drive around as they do, get in and out of their cars. We're talking with Karel Bouley, the one-man multimedia avalanche who survived more cultural earthquakes than Washington, D.C. has generated scandals.
I caused a few cultural earthquakes.
There's no doubt about it. A trailblazing broadcaster, performer, columnist, et al. You'll remember him for many years on KFI. And here we are today actually talking about, do people stay or leave? Is this a battle that you feel, that one should feel inspired to defend the Constitution, defend their homeland? Or do you split before you get squashed? And I know you're exploring that
too. I vacillate on that. I really do. First of all, as a gay person, this country has never wanted me. So, it's not like that mood has changed. It hasn't. They've never wanted us to be equal. They've never welcomed us in all 50 states. The United States has never been a good place to be gay, period, end of story. And people say, well, try Saudi Arabia. You know what? Can it? The fact is, there are as many places in the free world where
Saudi Arabia. That's my
exactly.
advice. Don't try.
Don't try it. Unless you want to wear a burqa like Michael used to. Michael Jackson. There are so many countries where it is so much better to be gay right now. So I vacillate on this question. I liken it to the Jews asking themselves. Take Einstein, for instance, one of the smartest people to ever have lived. He did not leave Germany because he simply did not believe that the people were going to stick with this Hitler guy. He just did not believe. He wrote about it. He talked about it. He said, yes, he's appealing to their empty stomachs right now, and he's appealing to their blame the immigrant sort of mentality, but that's not going to last. Then he went out one day, and he had already been being vilified by the regime, and he went out one day and basically got attacked in the streets. And he went upstairs and told his first cousin, who would later become his wife, Ik, that it was time to go. So he accepted a speaking engagement in the United States, and he never went back. And when he got here, he started helping other Jews leave Germany because he really believed it was time for Jews to go. So it's a multifactored question. If you have the resources, if you're Ellen DeGeneres, if you're Rosie O'Donnell, if you're someone that has the resources, absolutely. Get the hell out, sit out these next 3 years, see how it all lands, and then perhaps come back. You'll be a lot happier. You won't have the ridiculousness that is Donald Trump that robs us every day of our very lives. You won't have all that in your life. But if you can't afford it, and many of us cannot, if you can't afford it, like me, I own this condo. It's worth about $270. That's all the money I have. I should have millions in the bank. I don't. And so I live off pensions and I have this condo. So could I sell it and move to a place like Puerto Vallarta or whatever? Yes, I could. Would I be better off? I'd be the same. So if it's a complex question that really goes to your resources. Now, if you're trans, get out. If you're gay, bi, whatever, that then is a bigger decision. If you're trans, it is not safe for you in the United States. Canada is considering right now in their courts allowing American trans people to come under their asylum. I do a weekly thing. I do it at 11 o'clock here. I'm going to be doing it in 45 minutes with a journalist in Canada where we talk about issues that affect the world and the LGBTQ community. Rainbow Railroad, which is an organization that helps gay people leave countries that are just horrible, like Russia and Poland, various other countries. They are now helping trans people in America get to Canada. And a Canadian court threw out a trans person's case for asylum, but then a higher court said, wait a minute, we think it is dangerous for a trans person out of Arizona to be a trans person. So that court has revived the lawsuit.
Let's also acknowledge that the FBI under Cash Patel is now categorizing gay people as NVEs, and I'm trying to remember the acronym, but it's nihilistic, violent extremists. So that is the category. That means that you're ultimately a terrorist, and there is no hope for you should there be any charges against you. The T is part of LGB, which means it's all the same mix. And it
they should be afraid. They should be afraid of us.
Metastasize into the other letters. So the question is,
and they should be afraid of us.
What can gay people do as a unit, as a collective community, not monolithic? So unfortunately, you don't have a leader that expresses a plan. But what can gay people do as an alert and enlightened collective to help others get out? You've got Rainbow Railroad. We have Norway now talking about offering asylum for the first time. Yep. This may spread to other countries, including
Canada,
Switzerland at some point. So the rest of the world sees it for what it is. We here just keep going, it's not happening here. It can't happen here. It's going to pass.
Well, that's one of my biggest problems, and it's always been one of my biggest. I've been on talk radio now for a long time. I still do a daily podcast, the Karel Cast, and by the way, it's just Karel. I don't use the Bouley, but that's fine. And so I have been talking. When George W. Bush basically stole the election, I was telling everybody this is worse than what you think. This is equal almost to a coup. The same thing for Donald Trump. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I don't believe with any ounce of fiber in me that he legally won this last election. I simply do not believe it. But that being said, again, it goes back to what can you do? Now, certainly in your own community, we are suffering. Our bars are closing in record numbers, so there's less safe spaces for us to go to. Pride organizations have had all of their...
Let's help people understand what that means, because again, this is a little inside baseball. So take some bars in red states, for instance. The governors of those states have frozen the bank accounts of the owners of those bars. So they simply cannot conduct business. Likewise, it doesn't feel like a safe space. The cops are actually raiding them as though it's the 1960s again for fire regulations, too many people standing in the corner.
Didn't they just raid the Abbey? Didn't they just do the Abbey in LA? They just raided the Abbey, I believe. And ICE was there, raiding the Abbey. And you're right. It harkens back to pre-Stonewall, pre-1979 or 79. And it harkens back to the 60s and the 70s, and the drag bans. I mean, remember that Stonewall started because one of the laws was you had to wear 3 articles of clothing specific to your gender, and the police got to decide what those articles of clothing were. And so now with these drag
women were
bans,
called, in quotation marks, mannish.
Yes. And so we are going back there. And for any gay person listening to this, if you don't think it's as bad as we are saying, you are delusional. It's worse than what we're saying. We are now in this country open fodder again, and not just for the general public. Remember, the bully pulpit sets the tone. And so, of course, for the general public, we're open fodder again. But now we are open fodder for politicians and for governments. They used to, would be a little embarrassed if they tried to pass a drag ban or something. But now they're not only not embarrassed by it, they use it as a campaign tool. And so it is bad, but not just for us. And that's what we must understand. If you are African American, if you are Hispanic, if you are Asian, if you are anything but white, cisgendered, and male, it is rough to be an American right now. Women, at least there are no laws yet over our bodies as gay people. Women already have laws about their very bodies and what health care they can and cannot get. At least that hasn't happened to gay people yet.
I have to disagree, only because I have information that we don't have in LA. Red states like Florida no longer are required to provide medical care to gay people if a doctor wishes not to. And all he has to do is say it goes against his religious fundament, and he does not have to administer. ERs do not have to accept. Obamacare notwithstanding, doesn't matter. It is not required anymore. It is also a 3rd-degree felony in the state of Florida to say you're gay on state property. That would include universities. That would include a crosswalk in the middle of an intersection, Department of Transportation. These are real laws. Have people been arrested yet? No. But laws on the books end up being the access point for worse things to happen. We're going to pause for a second. We're just going to pause for a second, Karel. We're going to be right back. Trailblazing broadcaster, performer, columnist, accidental activist who's been out loud and unignorable since America thought disco was a threat to national security. On the other side, coming up in about 10, 15 minutes, we're going to talk to Greg Mello, the man who spent decades watching Washington, D.C. juggle nuclear policy like it's auditioning for a disaster movie. He's the executive director of the Los Alamos Study Group, and he's going to be explaining why our leadership keeps poking the nuclear bear, why the treaty withdrawals, what they really mean, and how close we are to turning geopolitics into a bonfire. And if you think headlines look bad, wait till you hear what's actually happening behind the curtain. All this so that you have choices in the madness. No choices, you simply suffer. Choices, you can make decisions. Go left, go right, go up, go down, go around, go under. But if you don't know, you can't make that decision. And this is empowerment time for you. So stay with us. We will return with Karel in just a flash.
This pussy grabs back. The Cary Harrison Files.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? Well, you call low-cost airlines because they specialize in cheap flights, in discount hotel rooms, in cheap car rentals, and with the best price guarantee. Often 75% off. 901-235-1795. 901-235-1795. 901-235-1795. 901-235-1795.
It's empowerment time. Cary Harrison with you. This is the Cary Harrison Files, reminding you to make sure that you catch us right now live on Substack and YouTube as video. You can simply Google Cary Harrison, Cary, Substack, or Cary Harrison YouTube, and that way we'll stay connected when you arrive at your destination. Don't forget also to sign up for our newsletter at caryharrison.com. And there you're going to get a transcript of this entire show, plus every iteration, every phoneme, every grunt, every gaseous borborygm released by me and Karel, all there in exquisite, detailed text. Plus, we're going to give you access to clips and stuff that we no longer can do on the radio. And we've talked about who's watching and why we can't. So we're going to be able to include that. We're talking right now to Karel. You'll remember him from KFI as the first ever morning show couple that was gay on the air. And from there, he's been all over the place, just as I have, on hundreds of different radio stations over time, in a very mainstream, straight environment, and not having a bad time at that. But these times are bad.
I don't know about that. You know, I always say that it was easier to get a job in commercial radio in the late 90s than it would be now as an openly gay person. It is harder now for us.
I can tell you why. I can tell you why.
Yeah, I can tell you why too.
I mean, other than just being gay, the gay part is not easy for them to sell. When I was on KTLK, your sister station at KFI,
yeah. Yep.
They had the hardest time selling advertising for Air America. They had no idea how to sell a commercial for people that made sense and were smart. They only knew how to sell advertising for idiots that were so somnambulistic they would buy any car that was commercially advertised. They can't sell gay people. If they could make a fortune off it, we would be ubiquitous.
Well, but now we have the bigger risk of it's not just that we're gay, it's that we're not conservative, and they know that Trump's FCC is watching. And so if it's commercial radio, they don't want their licenses put in jeopardy by someone that opposes Donald Trump. So you're going to hear very homogenous voices that all line. Look at Tim Cook. My God, if I didn't love Apple so much, Steve Jobs is rolling over in his grave. Tim Cook has kissed Trump's butt so many times, I just want to puke. And here is an openly gay man, you know, and I'm like, I'm not sure that Tim Cook is aware that Donald Trump does not like him. But, you know, he brings him solid gold statues and he goes to these expensive dinners and he all to curry favor with the king, and it's disgusting. Corporate America's response to Donald Trump has been absolutely disgusting, bending a knee and doing whatever he says. This is how despots and dictators take over. This man is a dictator. He is an autocrat. He should be removed tomorrow. If you are a member of the GOP or MAGA and you think what he's doing is okay, you're both stupid and ill-informed. He is the epitome
and easy to
of
sell advertising too.
Yeah, exactly. He is the epitome of what you do not want in the Oval Office, which I'm surprised he hasn't raised, even though he's gold-plated it. People are starving. He is denying SNAP benefits to my sister. I had to send her $400 this month because she didn't get her SNAP while he is putting up gold things inside the Oval Office and building a grand ballroom. This is the height of despicable. And we talked about, is it time to leave? Look, America is not the country we all have been sold that it is. We rank lower in healthcare than like 17 other nations. We rank lower in education than 24 other nations. The only two things we are good at in America is spending money and incarcerating people. Those are the two things we lead the world at. Incarcerations, especially of minorities, and spending money, being consumers. That's all we're good at. There's nothing else that we're good at. And so I think if you were to take the blinders off with the question, should I stay or should I go, and see America for what it really is, the answer would be go. go, because look, I've been to Ireland. I've been to Lisbon. I have been to France. I have been to many, many countries, Mexico. And trust me, all these people that say, oh, you will leave and come back because America is so great, they've never been anywhere. They haven't been out of their trailer park. They can't get up off the sofa with J.D. Vance. I mean, these people, their view of the world is through National Geographic. They've never left. Only 41% of Americans even have passports.
21%.
I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
21.
You're right. I'm sorry. I'm looking at a number 41% right here. That's why I went the wrong way. Sorry about that. But yeah, so like 79% of us don't even travel. And so could you go? Yes. If you can afford to get out, get out. There are beautiful countries all over the world that are. Malta is absolutely spectacular. There are places where you're going to have a different way of life. And
Albania uniquely is offering a 1-year visa. All you have to do is show up and you get a 1-year visa because they want people fleeing the United States to come and develop Albania. The problem is, if you're of a certain flavor, I don't think it's going to be a warm, snuggly bosom.
Right. There are 10 great countries in the world for gay people, and then there are others that are more questionable. Certainly the best ones are Spain, Portugal, Ireland. I love Ireland. I would live there in a moment. Absolutely. France, Uruguay, surprisingly, the most progressive country in Latin America. It was the first to legalize same-sex marriage, first to legalize cannabis, first to legalize trans rights. So Uruguay, not so great on the drinking water, but they're getting there. So that's a great country. They actually had to add salt to their drinking water recently, brackish water, because they were experiencing a 4-year drought. They've since had rains, and now they're building a new reservoir, and they're trying to, catch up to their water problem. Unlike Nevada, where I sit, where we just keep watching Lake Mead go lower and lower, thinking, I don't know, praying for rain or whatever.
But at least you can find a used rusted refrigerator poking up out of the water now, and corpses.
You don't have to go that far, honey. You can see those in people's yards around here. Are you kidding me? With their trucks up on the cement blocks. And
I hate to say, I am so sorry. We are completely out of time, but this has been a really awesome half hour. We're going to do it again. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to it. Give us the quick 411 on where we can find, follow, and support you.
YouTube.com/Really Karel, spelled Karel, or of course my website, reallykarel, Karel.com. My podcast is available in audio form on all streaming services. And as of today, it's number 125 in the USA and number 118 internationally. So I'm not sure who these people are, but hey, listen on, children, listen on.
Thank you so much. That's Karel. Trailblazing broadcaster, performer, columnist, accidental activist who's been out loud and unignorable since America thought disco was a threat to national security. You know where to find him, and we'll be bringing him back here on the Cary Harrison Files, where we are live streaming video right now. Simply Google Cary Harrison Substack or Cary Harrison YouTube, and you'll be able to catch everything, including in about 2.1 minutes, Greg Mello, the man who spent decades watching Washington juggle nuclear policy. And he's going to be explaining why poking the nuclear bear seems to be a good idea, at least from the leadership perspective, and what the treaty withdrawals really mean and how close we are to turning geopolitics into a bonfire. So if you do think the headlines look bad, you're going to want to understand how to navigate this here on the Cary Harrison Files.
Smells like fish.
Tastes like chocolate.
It's the Cary Harrison Files.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage is only $75 per month, level for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco user can buy $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right. level rates for 20 years. And if you're a smoker, we have great rates for you as well. At the Term Lifeline, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. So if you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call right now for a free quote.
Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes are based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting exam required to qualify.
Call 855-826-7936. 855-826-7936. That's 855-826-7936.